Hello. Back in 2012, we were charged with bringing alignment across the IT environment at the University of Minnesota. To do this, we created the IT Leadership Community of Practice that's made up of the IT directors from around the university. We meet monthly to discuss important and strategic issues, create a sense of team, and grow together as leaders. In fall of 2012, one of the first things that the IT Leadership Community of Practice accomplished was the creation of the IT governance process. This is an annual process where we go out and collect broad community input. We synthesize and distill that down to the essence of what the community's asked for. And then we meet with the deans and other leaders at the university to establish a final list of priorities. Following all those activities, we create new formal communities of practice based on the interests and priorities from the university. So the IT Leadership Community of Practice has been able to complete 2 full cycles of the IT governance process at the University of Minnesota. I'm going to share with you some lessons learned about the creation of these formal communities of practice. The first year we went off and created the new formal communities of practice based on the priority and vetting that I discussed earlier. We created formal communities of practice around information security, e-learning, IT governance, enterprise architecture, help desk consolidation, constituent relationship management. We really created a lot of these formal communities of practice. There was a lot of interest and grassroots activity and energy around each of these. What we did that worked well was we made sure that everybody understood we were looking for everybody's input on how things were going to get done. We agreed we were going to have a strategy around IT security, help desk consolidation. That wasn't really up for discussion. The university spoke and we listened. What we didn't know was how were we going to do the help desk consolidation. So rather than orders from on high about how to do a help desk consolidation, we instead created an environment where everybody could come together who was interested in talking about something as stressful as a help desk consolidation. And we created a formal community around that. The group met, they discussed, they shared stories, and they looked at the problem from different angles. So as I mentioned, one of the things that worked really well in the first year was that idea of grassroots involvement in establishing how we were going to do what the university had asked us to do in the IT governance process. One of the lessons learned from our first year was we really asked the groups to do a little too much. The problems and solution space that we gave them to solve was a little too hairy for them to get their arms around in just 1 year. Also, without a real structure to the community, it was really hard to figure out where different parts of the project were going or heading. So while it was a plus to have that grassroots involvement to discover how we were going to do something as big and as hairy as a help desk consolidation, it was a really big problem. And at the same time, without a little bit of structure to it, or at least asking for a little smaller portion of the help desk consolidation, it really was kind of unwieldy for that first year. But there was a lot of excitement, again, based on that idea of instead of telling the community, we will go do this, it was, the university has asked us to go do this. Now, anybody who's interested in e-learning, enterprise architecture, CRM, help desk consolidation, here are your communities, and we've asked you to get together and figure out how to do that. So after the first year, we continued to make progress on the formal communities of practice with a few tweaks from lessons learned from the first year. We continued to keep that grassroots excitement around how things were going to get done and listening to the university on what was going to get done, but we projectized things a little more. You may be asking yourself, okay, it sounds like management's getting involved in a community of practice, and that loses a little bit of the essence of the true community support. So instead of having a project manager or manager come in and dictate to the community essentially what and how things were going to get done, the community was still fully empowered to decide how things were going to get done. We didn't give them a project manager per se, we gave them a sponsor. And the sponsor's job was to help remove obstacles from the community. So if the community ran into a space where maybe they needed to hire a subcontractor for some money, or they needed to get some broader survey input from the rest of the university, that project sponsor would then go work with the enterprise IT organization to go do that on behalf of the community. Another thing that we did in the second year was instead of giving them big hairy things like help desk consolidation, we chunked it up a little bit. So we gave the communities a little smaller activity to do and more of them. So instead of a full year of activities where they could go off and work on something as big as enterprise architecture, the help desk consolidation, instead we gave them a 6-month project with a sponsor, and that it would be something around like standard operating procedures for the help desk, which would be necessary for a help desk consolidation, but something that the community could see pace and progress on during their time together. So during the second year, we actually kicked off 4 communities of practice. Academic technology enhancements, so that's one where we started modifying Moodle. End user support, so in that one we came up with the standard operating procedures as well as the process to onboard the various different help desks. The Wi-Fi enhancement community, which both helped create an awareness of where the Wi-Fi dead zones were, went out and deployed 150 access points, but they also helped the broad university community have a better understanding of when are they dealing with a wireless problem versus a cellular phone problem. And then finally, a formal community of practice around learning spaces. So looking at next generation active learning spaces and deploying those and piloting those in a handful of spaces. As you all know, the technology landscape changes quickly. By working together as a community, understanding that the answer is somewhere in the room, and empowering people to go out and discover the best in themselves and work together to come up with the best solution for the university, we're excited to continually improve the process of both the formal communities of practice and IT leadership at the University of Minnesota.